all things rugby league. Lance, how are you today?
To be.
All right, so to start things off, we're going to catch up a little things about British Columbia. So they just had their semifinals. We had Vancouver against Whistler. That will be the championship. So we had third seed Vancouver beat the second seed Vancouver Valley Vipers 30-16, and the one seed Whistler beat four seed and three-time defending champions Point Grey Thunder 52-0. So Lance, talk about your thoughts about the matches. At least just by the score lines.
It hurts to be, a back-to-back champion or, champion successfully and handling business, and you sneak into the playoffs as a fourth seed and just get absolutely throttled. You just think back to the old days. It's like watching the bad boy Pistons walk off the court when the Bulls finally beat them, like 52-0. Oh, that's gotta hurt your championship
Mm-hmm.
pride. You know what I mean? That gotta hurt a little bit.
Oh, definitely. Well, maybe there's like some roster changes that we don't know about because again, we don't really get to see much of the BC boys as much as we do with our, especially now with us having four conferences here in the U.S.
Mm.
Having maybe there's some guys who didn't make the roster this year, and also there's also sevens going on in the summer, so some of those guys could have made a difference for Point Grey the last couple of years, made the jump to sevens, or they just hung up the boots altogether.
I have a theory. I think a lot of the
Mm.
Point Grey players end up playing for Whistler. They played for Whistler this last game because ain't no way, ain't no way you go from champ to 52-0 knocked off. Ain't no way. I don't believe it. I refuse. But anyway, the USA Rugby League Youth had a big game, big matchup this past weekend as they head across the pond and they played against Scotland. And even though the fight was valiant, they end up dropping their first match, the quarterfinal match to Scotland. And one thing as I was watching this game is it looks like the Scotland side it's just had a level of physicality. They were really, really, really imposing early on, and one of their early tries would happen pretty much at the beginning of the game was just Scotland looking like they had something different as far as size. The USA boys are very skillful though. They showed up in a lot of ways, especially their first try, which was probably one of the tries of the match. I'm really excited about the youth involvement in rugby league here in the United States, and to see these guys be able to go over out of the country, make a big trip for rugby league and showcase. It wasn't a bad matchup by any stretch, but it definitely was an eye opening for me to see that rugby league, especially in the youth realm of rugby league, is on its way, is surging. Next up, the USA has to play against Serbia, and for me, if we talking about the U19s, European championships for the USA to play against a Scotland side, and Scotland looked like they were just a little bit more together. They looked like they had a little bit more of this of a training approach. It was just simple things, just playing the ball. Simple stuff like playing the ball seemed smoother on the Scotland side than the USA side. And that might not seem like a big deal, or to some it might not seem like a big deal, but from what I can see, those little things really affecting the game. We had turnovers early on because of playing the ball. Um, Players and tackles just a little bit too long. Defensively structured though, we looked pretty sound. It's just Scotland had a little bit of physicality that got them over. But I'm excited for this matchup tomorrow. Um, Tomorrow versus Serbia, and it'd be a great redemption match for our U19 side to really showcase who they are. So
Definitely. Congrats to Drayson on scoring the first try in youth Hawks history. That's going to be a huge history factoid in the future. So small things like that definitely help us. And again, it's the first time we play together.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure it's a lot of Utah boys, but officially under the USARL banner, it's the first time we're playing as the Youth Hawks, which I think we're all proud of them, regardless of the outcome. Obviously want the dub over Scotland, but Scotland's a team that's played together.
Yeah. And
Serbia will be later this week, so we're excited to watch that match.
I mean, to play Serbia in Serbia, this is going to be a real gut check moment for the boys. If they get a win against this Serbia side, it says a lot about the future. Win, lose, or draw says a lot about the future. But for them to go into hostile territory, play 2 matches and one against the host, and to have success is going to be a big step for all of us, And we should continue to root for these guys because they are us. You know what I mean? I can't wait to see it expands outside of that Utah area and really start touching, the different coasts, and especially, down in Florida. It'd be a big step to get rugby league and get, some of these good players playing rugby league, some of these good athletes here in Florida playing rugby league. So the future is bright for our U19 side, and good luck tomorrow against Serbia.
Definitely. All right, let's switch the topics over to the current USRL season. We are now entering the week 7, which is truly insane to think that the season's already halfway over. And we have a few undefeated teams going into week 7. We just had one lose their undefeated record, being DC losing to Brooklyn. So they're really fighting for that first place spot in the RLU. But Provo, Santa Rosa, Sacramento, all fighting for that 1 seed going into the playoffs.
And from my understanding, isn't it each of these conferences a play and the champion moves on and plays? So the USARL Florida or South, which it used to be, will play the RLU champions play against each other, and then on the West Coast it'll be the Pacific Coast versus the Utah. Correct? Am I correct on this? I got to make sure I'm 100% right, because that restructuring how we are now is the most expensive I've seen. And if it's laid out right, we really will be able to crown a national champion. And to me, that's yeah.
No, yeah, you're definitely right. It's the Pacific and Utah facing off, and then it will be the South and Northeast. But I was just saying, like, just trying to get to that first place in their conference, and the fact that so many teams, and also the Banditos, I forgot about LA, but just those teams fighting over that top position can definitely raise the credibility of this entire competition, especially it being the first year of a true unified USARL season. Lance,
especially as the finals winds down. Right now we in week 7, so that means that Tampa's playing against Atlanta, and Southwest Florida is playing against Jacksonville. And I believe this Southwest Florida game versus Jacksonville might actually end up playing again the following week for the final of the Florida Rugby League. So, man, it's turning this whole year is turned into nothing short but amazing. Nothing short of amazing. And that first week of August, when we really get all those finals laid out, we already had the Florida laid out. But once we get the RLU laid out and what's going on in the West Coast laid out, we can get this East-West final. I look forward to the August 24th East-West Championship for the real national champion. And I say real national championship. But yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
Oh yeah, I think we all are. Just because to finally have a true national champion is going to be a huge deal breaker for everything, and make a true landmark for or a baseline for the rest of the years to come. So I know there's been some controversy with our weekly picks, Lance. And you made a long story yesterday on your Instagram. If you want to go into it,
All right, let me stretch out a little bit. Let me crack my neck. Get a. All right. So here's the thing, right? And this, as I say this, these are the words and beliefs of Lance of Great American Rugby. They are not the words of Dylan Dustin. These are not the words of anyone else. Rugby League in America podcast are not responsible for my feelings. If they agree, they agree. But this isn't. This is Lance speaking on circumstances. So I've been, talking junk about rugby for a long time, decade. It hadn't become anything that I would do on a regular basis or anything that I would actually, predictions or anything like that I would stand on until the last couple years. And one thing that we all got to come to grips with is, and especially in rugby league, we don't talk about the union in this realm, but in rugby league especially, we had a lot of shaking up that was going on. And one of the things that was missing is a regular and consistent media source that just talks this rugby league stuff, that makes sure that people are getting information, make sure that we're connecting with the fans, make sure the fans can connect with us, learn more about teams, maybe learn about teams that they don't see on a regular basis. So, and what I've learned over the last, 7 weeks, we'll say this season, we'll just use this season for example. I'm making predictions that aren't necessarily based on the most educated stances, right? What I said earlier was, I'm making predictions while on sand. I'm not on bedrock. I'm not on any foundational stone that give me real foundation or give me a good standing. I'm learning information as we go, and I'm trying to make predictions the best I can. Last week, um, uh, Brooklyn Kings won their match against DC Calgary, and Brooklyn, who was picked by only one person during our Rugby League in America predictions to win, made a post like, "What do you say to Rugby League America guys who picked against you?" And a guy, one of the players is like, keep doubting us. We feed off that kind of thing. And I'm thinking to myself, and there's no disrespect to anybody, but the person who said this, who was on the video, like it'd be different if I knew his name, right? If I knew who he was, I can look at him and be like, that's blankety blank. Like I didn't know who he was when he was saying it, right? The guy that was saying it. And that just lends itself to like, we're making predictions off of trends, off of any bits and nuggets of information. Most teams are not necessarily outward with information about rosters or who's who, the background of each player. It's not some website where I can go and look at, where this guy came from, his experience, right? Some of his mentors, the people that taught him and grew him. It's not as in the same connection as many other sports that are prevalent in the United States. So when I'm hearing this, a part of me is like upset because when I picked Brooklyn to win earlier this year and they lost, I didn't come out with a video like, "Hey, Brooklyn, get your stuff together. Y'all stinking up my record." You know what I mean? I didn't do anything like that. I was just like, all right, well, Brooklyn lost. Maybe I'll, taking that information to move on. Brooklyn won games since then, but they're playing DC again. So I'm like, all right, maybe this time DC gets to win. Now there's a home and away element that I didn't take in consideration. I felt like maybe Brooklyn was I felt like, maybe that, the home and away part I didn't really take into consideration. I picked DC to win. But it's not as if I know the coach's first name and I can call him on a conference call pregame to see what his strategy is this week. You know, tell me, coach, Kyle Granby is doing really well. He's been strong off the boot. You got a couple additional new players. I'm not getting this information. So I'm making it off of trends and things. And to hear that just made me think like, wow, maybe it'd be better if we don't make predictions. Of course not. That is definitely not the answer. But when finally someone, and I don't know if people have been making predictions on RLU games or rugby league games in the United States, but finally someone's making predictions, someone putting their neck out. I'll pick this, and you get the somebody feel away. I'm okay with you feeling, we picked you to lose. Y'all won. You know what I mean? Hey, pick better next time and just let it go. But a lot of this is what I'm dealing with is like, if I held that same energy when people say that kind of stuff back, would I be wrong? So, it makes a more volatile environment because now, I can sit in the peanut gallery and just start throwing. I can just start throwing shade. And I think that if the energy is going to be given this way for predictions, because they're not the only team. Southwest Florida also, Southwest Florida. I know some players, right, who came into the fold over the course of this year, who called on my phone after I picked, Jacksonville to beat them and they won. Oh, so that's what we doing now. This is where we are in rugby league. they finally got a media guy to go against, and we're gonna do that. Not to go against, but they finally got some banter to throw in there. So I just want to say thank you to members of the Brooklyn Kings. I want to say thank you to members of the Copperheads. I want to say thank you to anyone who said anything slick in the comment section of our predictions when we got them wrong, because now I'm going to make this really fun for myself. I just want to make predictions, slide off to the left a little bit, let the players and the game handle itself. But I think it's now, since we got a little banter and the door's been opened by the players, not by I, because all I do is pick. But since the banter has been open, I think now for this second half of this year, we're gonna have a little bit more fun with the predictions. I think I am. I think I'm gonna be a little bit more, as the kids would say, toxic. Maybe not in an evil sense, but I'm definitely gonna have a lot more fun with these predictions moving forward. Unless, of course, I get rosters a little bit early. I can start comparing. I can understand some of these players. I can learn more about the in-game strategy. I can learn more about the coach and his dedication. And once we get to that point, maybe I'll chill out. But from where we sit right now, we're gonna have a lot of fun for this next 3 or 4 weeks as we get to the back end of this season into the national championship. That's all I really. That's just me. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm just gonna leave it there. But good luck and Godspeed to everybody involved. I really do appreciate that there's someone who feels a way about it. That's the big thing. I'm glad people feel a way enough to have these kind of thoughts and predictions not being placed to their side. But here we are. But the big news, Dylan.
Yeah.
The big news, Las Vegas.
So Vegas 2025 is not just NRL Vegas anymore. It is Rugby League Las Vegas 2025. The two matches with Canberra Raiders, New Zealand Warriors. You got Panthers and the Cronulla Sharks. But we also have Super League and International Women's joining the board. You have the Wigan Warriors and the Warrington Wolves. And the International Women's, you have Australia versus England. So this is a very diverse stage of rugby league now. We now have 4 matches instead of the traditional 2, along with the biggest 9. Lance, what are your thoughts on Rugby League Vegas instead of NRL Vegas?
I'm glad they added the women's game to it. I'm glad they added international match to it. I'm glad they shuffled up the teams just a drip, a little shuffleage of the teams. Now I can't wait to see this new group of fans that come in to represent their teams, because last time we were there were a lot of jerseys, a team of people who came to just represent their team. Now we get a whole new batch of fans, a whole different perspective, whole nother region of Australia. And to see the New Zealand Warriors, I hope Sean Johnson has another year left in him, so I can see this man live in person one time before God takes me to glory. And if that happens, I can be a happy man. But that's going to be absolutely amazing. Wigan Warriors, to me, symbolize a little bit of full circle, because we did have a player from the United States capped Red Tail or Hawk make her way to England to play for the Wigan Warriors. So now to see them play now, I can really compare, contrast how she fit there. It'll give me a little bit of a grounding to know how the levels are, and but also Australia international women in the United States. I might see some of my favorite NRLW players, and that's gonna be dope.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And also, like, the Wigan Warrington match is a rematch of the Milwaukee match that happened back in the 80s. These are the same 2 teams coming over. I'm hoping they do a throwback to, like, the jerseys to back in the day, like they did a couple years ago. They just posted, I think it was like the 35th anniversary. I could be wrong with the date, but to have those two teams is kind of significant because these two teams in the past have played in the United States, and now they're going back to play in Vegas and to be the first two Super League teams to join in this rugby league Vegas weekend is, I think, like it's a nice sentimental value, especially with the older rugby league fans. Like, oh, I've seen these guys play before. I've heard of these teams. Let's go watch them. And also, we get the culture of England also coming over, which is what started rugby in general, but also rugby league. And now we get to see not only the Aussies, you now see the English, and you also see the Kiwis from New Zealand. So it's a nice mixture of all four countries that are rugby league safe, like havens, and they're coming all to Vegas. This is going to be a very populated weekend.
Yeah, and it shows signs of rugby league, NRL Las Vegas this year being an absolute success. This shows that what we were there for, me and Dustin, you know what I'm saying, get well soon, brother. What we were there for was, might have been the ground floor of something historic. It might have been historical. We literally might be seeing Las Vegas NRL or Las Vegas Rugby League every year for the next 20 years. And we might have seen it at its very, very beginning, at its genesis. So, to see it grow and become something even more, and who knows, it might turn into some giant festival, something big where every year the best and brightest of rugby league around the world stops into Vegas for a weekend and just hangs out. So that to me it's amazing.
So yeah,
just like that, I believe we have touched on all of the greatness that is rugby league here in the United States. Rugby League in America podcast would like to thank all of those who are listening, all of those who are watching, all of those who pay attention to what we're doing. Please follow Rugby League in America on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, on Snapchat, probably, who knows. But Rugby League in America podcast is booming. And we're here for everything rugby league. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate you so much. Good day.
oh, that was so bad.
That's it. I close the show, so you can. I know how to stop it, so. Without leaving, I know how to stop it. So could you? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to. It's just my